You've been pregnant before, right? The doctor asked. I hadn't. That single question unraveled my entire marriage. I was perched on the exam table in one of those thin paper gowns when Dr. Mitchell glanced up from her clipboard, genuine confusion creasing her forehead. Your medical records show a previous pregnancy approximately 3 years ago. It ended during the first trimester. My blood turned to ice. That's impossible. I've never been pregnant. She rotated her computer screen toward me. There it was. My full legal name, exact birth date, social security number, and detailed documentation of a pregnancy I'd never experienced. Prenatal vitamins prescribed on specific dates. 3 ultrasound appointments scheduled and attended. A termination procedure with clinical notes. I started shaking so violently the paper gown crackled. Someone stole my identity. But even as I spoke, something darker coiled through my thoughts. 3 years ago, only one person had complete access to all my personal information, my husband. I drove home in a fog and waited. When Jeremy walked through the door that evening, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop displaying the medical records. What is this? I kept my voice steady despite my trembling hands hidden beneath the table. His face cycled through emotions in rapid succession. Confusion, recognition, panic, then a terrible attempt at composure. Babe, I can explain. Then explain. He sank into the chair across from me. 3 years ago, before our wedding, he'd gotten a coworker named Valerie pregnant. Terrified of losing me, he'd convinced her to use my identity at a clinic across town instead of telling me the truth. He paid cash for everything. She had the procedure. They both moved on. He actually said moved on, as though he hadn't committed fraud and identity theft, as though he hadn't built our marriage on lies. I was protecting you, he said, tears forming. Protecting me? You used my medical identity for your affair, baby. It wasn't technically an affair. We weren't married yet. I stood so abruptly, my chair crashed backward. We were engaged, planning our wedding, and you got another woman pregnant and put it on my medical record. He reached for my hand. I jerked away. Baby, please. One mistake. I've been faithful ever since. You loved me so much you made it look like I had an abortion I never had. Do you understand what this could do to my medical care? What happens when I actually get pregnant and doctors think I'm lying about my history? He had no answer. He'd never considered me at all. I spent the following week gathering evidence. Clinic records, old credit card statements showing cash withdrawals matching the exact dates, text messages on his old phone he'd never deleted because he never imagined I'd look. Valerie was surprisingly easy to locate. She still worked at his company in a different department. When I appeared at her desk during lunch, she looked like she'd seen a ghost. I'm not here to fight, I said calmly. My husband committed medical fraud using my identity. I need your help proving it. She started crying immediately. She'd carried guilt for years, wanted to confess, but he'd threatened to tell her husband, whom she'd married 6 months after the procedure, if she ever spoke. He said if I told anyone, he'd destroy my life, she explained through tears. He's been holding this over me for 3 years. We went to the police together. The detective took our statements and pulled the clinic records as evidence. Jeremy was arrested at work, handcuffed in front of his colleagues. The expression on his face almost made 3 years of lies worthwhile. Almost. At the hearing, his lawyer argued it was victimless. The judge actually laughed. Victimless? He compromised this woman's medical history, committed identity fraud, and coerced another woman into silence for years. That's 3 victims minimum. He received 18 months. I got divorced. Valerie told her husband everything. Unlike my ex, he forgave her. She'd been manipulated into it all. Last month, my divorce finalized. I celebrated by returning to that clinic to correct my records. The nurse processing the paperwork studied my file and shook her head. I've seen a lot in this job, but this is definitely new. Trust me, I replied, signing the final correction form. It was new for me too.